Hey everybody, this is Jasmine coming at you with another book review. Thanks for joining my channel. The purpose of this channel is to bring you a great book review that will help you create in your life better skills in your relationships. So the purpose of the channel is to create and cultivate a space where healthy relationship skills can be learned, practiced, developed, and to thrive. That's a passion that I have, and that's a focus that I have for life. So let's get into the book review. The book that we are going to be reviewing today, or I will be reviewing today, I am only one singular person. It is called The Truth About Men, and it's by DeVon Franklin. And this particular book is 270 pages. I want to see if you can see that. Okay. So we're going to get into the three takeaways that I have for this book. And the first one is that you definitely want to have an open mind when reading this book, because the author is providing a view about men in a way that if you're not accustomed to being around a different viewpoint, you may want to not really pay attention. We are reading this book through my book club, and at first when I read it, I was just like, oh, this is going to be different. But I had to become open, and I had to keep my mind open and be willing to say, okay, if I want to know something different, I have to be able to listen and hear what the difference is. So again, DeVon Franklin, he has a great perspective, and he wants readers, men and women, to know the truth. So the second takeaway that I have from this book is that one thing that the author is providing is truth in a way that a lot of times we haven't heard as men or as women, or women or men. So just because it is uncomfortable, don't ignore the truth. So the second takeaway is don't ignore the truth, even though it's uncomfortable. The author, Mr. Franklin, he references men in the state of dogs. He's not calling men dogs, but he uses an analogy of dogs, meaning like the dog being, he says mastering the dog, and just the dog in the dog nature in a man, and the way that he's talking about it, lust and love. So he uses the analogy in how a dog is trained and how a dog is taught how to behave. And it's so many different analogies. Again, the author isn't calling men dogs, but using that analogy, he allows people to see through the eyes of a man that the man has dog-like tendencies. That's what it is. So that's one uncomfortable truth for men even to say and to see for themselves, that hey, this is in me. It's not like it's going to go away magically. I have to be responsible, and I have to look at myself and say, hey, what do I want to do with what I know? What do I want to have my outcome be? Because a dog, and I'll use this as an example, like the author, a dog in of itself, if it's just left to its own tendencies, it will just do whatever. It'll poop wherever, it will drink wherever, it will lie whatever. It does what it does because that's its nature. But a dog has to be trained, and healthy dog training is not only good for the homeowners, it's good for the dog. Because when it goes out with other dogs and with other people, the dog is no longer a nuisance, or it's no longer a point of contention for a lot of people. The dog is able to be socialized, so to speak. So people aren't afraid of the dog, or the dog doesn't have to worry about being reprimanded, so to speak. It knows where to poop, it knows where to lay, it knows where to or it's not going to just run up and bite someone. So the way that this uncomfortable truth may be to someone, and say like, I'm not a dog, or don't put me in the analogy of a dog as a man or as a female. It's just like, yeah, all men are dogs. It's not that type of conversation. It's saying that like all of us can have dog like tendencies, or we can always all let our lower nature take over. But if we want to master the dog, one, we need the help of the master. That's what the author says. We need the help of the master to master the lower level and the lower life tendencies that we all have. But at the same time, if we don't acknowledge that that's in us, and women, if we don't acknowledge that we can be around men who have never learned how to master their dog, we could be attempting to do something outside of our scope and responsibility, because as a woman, it's not my place to master a dog. To master the dog in a man, or to master someone else's emotions, their tendencies, their vices, what they have to do. Again, this is all about learning healthy relationship skills that will help us practice, to help us develop better skills that we have. Sometimes we've never learned it growing up, but this is a space where we can create for ourselves, and it's going to be a learning curve. So the author, I love how he sets it for us as women to understand that, hey, stick in there with your man, your boys, your sons, your uncles, your fathers. They may have never learned this. And then for men, be okay with it. Know this, own it. But you know what? Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. So let's see. And that leads me to the third takeaway. Now, this one, I am going to pause, because this one is not only the most important takeaway, it is the important takeaway that I took away from reading this book as of right now. That men, they have a need to be respected. They have a need to be and feel respected. So I'm going to say that again. Men, the third point is, men have a need to be and feel respected. Men have a need to be and feel respected. So women, as a woman, the way that I speak with a man, whether he's my man, my boo, my husband or not, every man has a need to feel and be respected. So the author says, DeVon Franklin says, our tone is very important. And he explained it in a way that we all know what he's talking about. A man can be wrong as two left shoes or two right shoes. But the way that I come at him, the way that I communicate with him, my energy towards him, that will either have him feel like he is not needed, that he has no respect, or I can totally provide him with respect. So the reason why I think that this is so important is because it's not a matter of people being perfect or not. What the author is saying, that, you know what, a man needs a woman to be helpful, but he doesn't need that help to be coming as a 2x4 across his head. So yes, he could say something that's totally incorrect, but I can come, and I'm gonna practice this in this space with you, to say like, you know, when you said that you were going to take me over to my friends at 5:30, I was expecting you at 5:30. If I missed something, I'm sorry, but I felt like I was totally ignored, and I want to talk about it with you. If this is not a good time, let me know. But I would like for us to talk about it. And I'm not coming at you to disrespect you in any way. I really, really just felt a little hurt, and I thought we scheduled and we set that time. Again, what I just did with you is I practice. I would now know that I need to practice before I come at a man in a way when I'm having a difficult time, or even when I'm having a good day and I just want to rattle off everything that's going on. A man is respected, what I understand, when I acknowledge him as a person, when I acknowledge that his thoughts and opinions matter. So yes, even though I have a lot to say, sometimes respect is not always simply talking. Respect sometimes I see now is listening. So instead of me having more to say than he has, and since he's not filling the space, I'm gonna fill it with everything I have. Now I'm seeing like, just pause. If nothing's being said, just let it marinate. And then sometimes men, they take a little longer to say something. So with me personally, if I'm filling the space with all of the words, a man is not, what I've learned and seen and observed and have lived, is that men aren't going to just override my conversation. They'll just let me keep talking. And I never or rarely get to the chance to hear him because I'm so busy doing all the conversating. But sometimes it takes just falling back, being quiet, and giving him the opportunity. So if there's a 3 to 5 minute silence, he may say 1 or 2 words, but I respected him enough to give him the time to be ready to say it. And one thing that I get is that a man, he needs the time to be able to trust that his words, his actions, and his behaviors they're going to be all respected and safe in the space. So if I'm, as a woman, creating a hostile place, he may not have to tell me. He'll just shut down. And if I don't want that shutdown, I have to learn ways of how to allow conversation to take place. And that's another thing. He talked about communication, communication being really, really key. So here we go. This is the book by DeVon Franklin. It's called The Truth About Men, Everything What Women and Men Need to Know. So that's my take on the book. So one thing as a personal application I get is that in order to understand men, I must be willing to know where they're coming from and how they're wired. I can't just go to my girls. I can't go to them to say like, hey, you know what they should be doing? They should be doing this, or they need to be doing that. I want to understand men, so I need to be able to learn and study and grow and observe what a man is all about. So it's unproductive and it's backwards for me to tell a man how I think they should be. I also learned that many men didn't learn how to be a man who has mastered his dog. So knowing this, I need to be aware of the different types of men that are out there so that I know the signs. So if I know the signs, knowing the signs will help me be prepared. Not to say like, hey, that guy isn't a good guy. It's for me to accept the truth. That the truth is that he may not know, but if I'm going to respect him and give him the respect that he needs and that he needs to have, I'll be quiet and I won't allow myself to be in my feelings with a man. I will allow the conversation to be respectful, and it may be something that we may never engage on more fully. But if I understand that a man is thinking a certain way and he needs different things than me as a woman, I can be willing and open to hear him and to be able to communicate by listening, communicate by respecting, and communicate by being my best self as a woman, because a true man wants to be well respected by a true woman. So this is a book that I highly recommend. Again, it's called The Truth About Men by DeVon Franklin. And check it out. Also, if you'd like me to review a book, please leave a comment below, or you can send me an email, and that email is listed in the chat. Have a great one, and until we meet again, keep being the best version of you.